Today we're going to look at some of the interesting things that we can see in live blood analysis. Hi, my name is Ferdy. I'm from CBeyond Health in Hermanus. And let's look at what we can see in the blood. So the first thing that we're going to look at, so these things that are over here, we call that rouleau, which means that the blood is all stuck together. And this means that there's a lot of fat and protein in the blood. And this person possibly has high inflammation and isn't in a very healthy state. The primary function of red blood cells is to carry oxygen. So the question is, why when people feel tired, they often have rouleau as well? That's because when they're stuck together like that, we can lose up to 90% of the surface area, which means we lose a lot of oxygen as well. So the oxygen isn't getting to where it is supposed to be, and so that person often feels very tired also. Here is a fungal form. That means that this person most likely has got some of the bacteria and funguses from the gut is leaking into the blood and is starting to affect the blood. This also often means that this person could have some blood sugar issues, fluctuating blood sugar. Over here we have an example of uric acid crystals. Uric acid crystals is usually because of poor digestion, so it's also because of an accumulation of protein and fat, but in this case, this person's body cannot break down fat and proteins very well, and that causes uric acid crystals. Often people with uric acid crystals will also have joint pain and all sorts of issues like that. If we look at the blood over here, this is when rouleau starts. When rouleau becomes more aggressive, we call it erythrocyte aggregation, which actually means that those strings start forming these masses. And so you can see that these are getting stuck together, and that can become quite a problem. So we've also got a little parasite right there. In this case, that is a bacteria that is in the blood. So you can see even got bacteria in the blood here. We look at all the parasites here, and then over here, this part here, that's what we call an appendage cell. So very often when we find an appendage cell, that means that there is an underlying autoimmune disease. So often when we see cells like this over here, then we call those appendage cells because they've got this little appendage coming out, and that often indicates that the person has got an underlying autoimmune disease, something like arthritis or lupus or Hashimoto's, any of those conditions where the body or the immune system is attacking the body. We often find that people who have those conditions also have these deformities in the cells. This is a good example of plaque. And so plaque is often an indicator that there's cardiovascular disease. So plaque is the little scabs that the body makes to protect the inside of the arteries when there's been an injury. And so if there's a lot of those, then we can see them in the blood. And this is a very good example of one of those. You can see that it's also picked up a whole lot of debris as well. Another phenomenon that we can see is in cases when there's quite a variation in the size of the red blood cells like we have here. Some cells are really quite small and others are quite big. We call that anisocytosis, and what that usually indicates is that there is low vitamin B6 and or low vitamin B12. Often you'll also find that people with anxiety or those kind of issues also have anisocytosis because we use vitamin B6 to produce serotonin. So if vitamin B6 is low in the body, we often find that people have mood issues as well as anxiety and so on. So that's an important one to check out for. So that's what we have today for our interesting live blood phenomena. I hope that you will join us again in the future to see what's next in our exploration of the blood.